Okay.
Probably not sitting in a position that's very complimentary. It'll just make me look very blobular.
You already look globular.
I'm Kyle. This is Brad.
Long time no see.
It would have been, was it your last year of OCAD or your second last year where we did a project called Manfred Says Go?
Last year of OCAD for me.
Okay.
So you had already graduated
So
by
this
that
would have
point.
been, so this would have been 2006 or 2007.
That I don't know.
Yeah.
It was right before we had to move out of the house in Scarborough.
Yeah. So we figured first of all, who was Manfred? Look at the walk, don't walk sign. Look at the stride of that fellow. Someone with a stride that confident can only have a name like Manfred. So that's who Manfred is. He's the walk, don't walk guy.
Also the name that my father wanted to give me before he gave me the name Brad.
I think it's a better street sign name than Brad name.
Yeah.
Should have been Manfred. So for this project, we went to Google and typed in Toronto, which was the city we lived in, and where Google determined was the exact center of Toronto. We went there and went to the closest intersection, and whatever way the walk sign said to go, we walked down there. We had a field recorder taped to the end of a hockey stick, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
And it was you, myself, Kevin, and I can't remember if
I think Mary was there for
Mary
some of it
might
as
have been
well.
there. We got the recordings back, and we had a strict set of rules for ourselves where cutting and pasting was strictly forbidden. But the idea was to take the recorded sound and modify it into an arranged noise competition. I'm cautious calling it music, just to see what we could come up with.
I'm glad that you remember all of that lore. The only part of that I can't verify for myself is the city center part.
I do have
Everything else I absolutely remember, but then you own the Prime recordings, or at least you're in possession, so we would have talked about that as we were setting out.
And I found a text document on my computer while I was going through the archives that lists the list. All right, so for Manfred Says Go, we only have the compositions that I made. I think at the time we only made about 3 of them that we actually... Well, I finished 3 at the time.
Yeah, and I don't know. Those files...
Yeah.
Anything that I had is long gone
Okay,
now.
I'll have a look and see
You
what I can
probably
find for
have
yours.
it.
So my general process I would just start applying filter after filter until I got something weird and unexpected that might give me a certain image in my mind. Like I might get a sound that reminded me of a cricket going, so then I would try to make everything else
No,
sound
you just
like
make
wet.
annoying noises and pass it off as music.
Yeah, that's the whole project.
Drop the pretense.
That's the whole project. That's what we're not talking about what we accomplished. We're talking about what our goals were at the start, not what we ended up with.
It's a pretentious way of saying
Yeah.
I make annoying noises.
That's why I say
I mean, I'm no better either.
That's why I say arranged noise composition rather than music, because I would not call this music. All right. So used this camera to go out and get some slow-mo footage just to get something to accompany it. Not necessarily just something ambient, just to have visuals. Visuals aren't important. I just picked them to go along with it. So let's play the first one. Track 3. I guess I'll have to edit this into order when we're watching them. This is a newer one. I did the actual mixing and stuff now, so some of the compressors will be much more advanced than what we had before. The actual audio was from a long time ago.
Yeah, it already has a cleaner sound than that previous one that sounded just more muddy.
Well, everyone slow-mo, that's handheld, but the slow-mo kind of...
Well, I mean, that's an interesting element to point out, because that makes all of those natural drops and sways look very deliberate and very subtle, as opposed to just camera shake from you being jittery.
Yep. Well, that's disturbing the kitty.
Yeah, both cats aren't liking it. I can see Phineas's tail twitching. He doesn't tend to like industrial music. Yeah, that's really pleasing.
Slow motion and rain. Like 5 times slow-mo was like the perfect rate for just aesthetics.
about the audible aesthetics as well? Like the visual's very pleasing. The shift a little bit further into blue was a nice touch.
Yeah, I actually had that correspond. I shifted the video for when the song shifted. So that was one that was mixed more recently. So on top of a new compressor, there was a VST that I had and used frequently back then called G-Snap. Mm-hmm. Since then, it's kind of been discontinued, but they've taken the same core and applied it to a modern interface. So I did use a little bit of that to snap them. So the notes they started as distorted noise, but they were snapped to actual notes. So when I had the 3 or 4 tracks, they were in the same scale. Gotcha. So the notes or the noises that were happening would fit together instead of be dissonant.
Gotcha.
So that's probably also part of the cleanness. And I've also learned since then that if you're using a compressor, you're always better off to do minimal compression in multiple passes than just compress the crap out of it in the first go. This is Manfred Says Go, track 5. Track 5. This is one where I finished the mastering. I found 5 multi-tracks and did the actual mix now instead of 2005. It does sound like pretentious artsy bullshit.
I can still pick out the footsteps on the asphalt.
I actually enjoyed the natural rhythm that created.
Mm-hmm. Also, nice lens for the slow-mo. It's a nice round bokeh.
That's this lens.
Okay.
That's the kit lens.
I guess it's also important to note that even though we did pick up other people's voices while we were walking around, it's so distorted that you can't tell that it's other people, just to protect them. Or at least it needs to be said that they're protected by the artsy bullshit.
Yeah, that's true. I wasn't interested in making it sound like street noises. I wanted to take it somewhere completely different. Also, the beginning and the end fades to the clean signal, so every time a track starts or ends, you will get that little bit of street noises. The tracks were cut whenever we got to another intersection and had to wait for Manfred. Or even if Manfred said, hey, keep going, we would still add a little mark, and those were the dividing points. So each track is the distance from one street light to the next. That's one that I'm probably among the least happy with, I think. All right.
Well, it sounds like a good intro track, at least.
Yeah, but it's track 5 because we never got it. I think track 1 was one of the ones you were to make. Yeah, so here's track 7, my next track. Okay. Track 7, Go. Technology isn't as seamless as it should be. Can you get
Star Trek noise?
The theme for this video was spaceships.
Yeah, well, this has got to be when a big vehicle went by to get that nice throaty rumble.
Yep. That sounds like one of my Bit Crusher plugins. They're all 12-year-old, so I don't even remember.
There's no chance of me remembering them either.
Half of them don't even work anymore. Newer software. Now it's a spaceship landing in a swamp. Yeah, I think...
Yeah, there's some really good TOS noises that you were able to pull out of that.
I think this should be renamed maybe Plan 8 from Outer Space.
A little bit too saw-like for my liking. That one noise.
I also mix these with headphones, which is bad for getting some of those uncontrolled highs. I probably should have mixed it on monitors, but that would involve buying monitors. All right, track 8. 7 and 8 were both tracks that were mixed 12 years ago. So I did nothing for this other than the video.
What was that sound generator program that you like to play with?
Audio mulch. It had
A musical generator is the one that I'm thinking of.
Oh, yeah.
You were able to take all the garbage noise that we had from the street and still make it sound like a musical generator. Because that was one of your favorite tools in this time period, so I'm not surprised that you did that.
I've switched over since then to Wolfram Alpha that has the Wolfram tones.
Okay.
They're more musical. Also, I like how the sign clearly says Parkside, which is in the west end of Toronto, whereas the walk actually took us very far east.
Yeah. I know we spent a good chunk of it around Jarvis.
Yeah.
And church.
Yeah. So here is track number 9.
No, that wasn't Mary. Maybe that... I
Could have just been passing somebody on the street.
Yeah, it sounded like my recorded voice, but it could just be that I'm looking for my voice, and thus I'm saying, yeah, that was me. That could very easily be people looking at our weird recording rig and going, what are you doing, man?
We did have a few people who thought we were strange. I love when the raindrops bounce off the top of that light in slow motion, and it just looks like miniature explosions.
Or they glance off the side and you can see them change trajectory.
Yeah. Or when they land on the lens and you see a new circle appear. This one actually, the sound seemed like a rainy night. Like some of the sounds, so I kind of feel the visuals are kind of appropriate with this one. Oh, that was a nice strip.
Absolutely. What's interesting is where the light overlaps where the droplets have happened. It looks like there's an image trying to come out of the center there in that dark spot.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
Yeah.
But again, I'm looking for the pattern, so I'm trying to see like a reflection or something where there is no reflection.
This one frame at the end. I'll have to
see.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't remember that happening.
Oh,
that's some sloppy editing for me. All right, so now we're on track 13. Yeah, I think this is another one that was made more recently. And I think I only had 3 tracks that I had distorted in the past, so I did go through and find some old VSTs and actually distort another one appropriate. So this will be the most modern of what we've listened to so far.
Again, I say good color choice. I mean, it's a sodium light, but the way in which the colors have been bent and channeled here looks really good.
For this one, I used just a default bleach bypass filter to make it look like 7.
Yeah, it certainly does have that grimy Fincher look to it.
Yeah, thanks. And I think I did some sharpening as well just to make it look, dirty.
Yeah, I wasn't confident in my assessment of it looking like the video equivalent of an unsharp mask, but I'm glad that I put my finger on that.
This one kind of, the sounds reminded me of like walking through a big tunnel deep underground or something, so sewer grate was the...
like a Half-Life sewer level.
I mean, I was walking in the rain. I had to be up at 5 and it was midnight. I didn't want to venture too far from my house.
Well, you made it work, that's for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Kind of makes me wonder if the storm drains made these noises, would all of those people that we know that spent so much time breaking into storm drains and wandering around in the OCAD days would have done so, if it sounded like this?
I think they probably do. There was that one guy who broke into like the storage silos and grain silos and stuff, and they would do ambient recordings out of them.
Mm.
That also wasn't the camera screwing up. I was intentionally tapping different parts of the screen towards the end just to make the visuals a little more dynamic. But the fact that I'm having to explain that wasn't me screwing up suggests I now realize it wasn't the best idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling kind of torn about it. It doesn't look deliberate, and maybe that's because of the filters.
Yeah.
Or it may be that it's too random and the fuzz happens. How can I put it?
It's not lining up with the audio, so it just seems like a mistake and not like, focus pulls.
I don't know that it needs to line up with the audio exactly because it's so ambient, but maybe if there was a logical progression between the areas in which, so you could kind of trace a pattern.
Yeah.
That it doesn't seem like it's deliberate. That
makes sense. I would agree with that. Because, I just look a little sloppy. But like I said, this isn't something that I poured hours over. Like, each one was maybe like...
No.
10, 15 minutes.
But when our task is to sit here and be critical...
Yeah, we got to pick it apart. Again, this is another one where it will probably have one or two tracks that we're using old VSTs, but were done nowadays because I only had 2 or 3. Start at the beginning instead of the middle.
It's definitely your voice. I heard a little bit of backpack jingle too.
That's an old sound.
That was definitely people.
The really subtle high-pitched beeps is the newer thing that I added to it. Like there, not that.
Lots of voice-based things in here. Where'd the buzz come from?
That is another one of the VST filters that I had. It's called Geometry.
But what is it filtering?
It takes the sound that we're recording, just the whole track, but it simplifies it, so it might just take random patches along the waveform and connect those and skip most of them.
Oh, I see.
So it can turn pretty much anything into a very bass-heavy pad.
Okay, so it's not taking one sound out of the track, it's taking an average out of all of the wavelengths.
Like it's playing along, but it's creating, and then I think it
gotcha.
It might have something similar to a granular synth in it too, how it might do a little bit of rearranging small chunks. I'm not sure. Should probably read the package. But the good news is there's only one more to sit through. Oh boy, lucky us. Oh, all right.
Screwed a little bit too much with this video.
This one was the 2 layers on top of each other. One is flipped, and then difference blending mode to make one make it lighter and the other make it darker.
I would have liked to see sharper ripples. There's interesting idea.
Yeah. This one, the recording to me sounded like it had two leads that were fighting. One was sort of clear and one was
Okay, I
muffled. So in the video, I wanted to sort of have two contrasting, like one black, one white, and have them kind of interacting.
Yeah, okay. I see your point there.
Yeah. And the other option was to do a lot more, adding to the sound nowadays. And like, I'm okay with taking a 12-year-old VST and running it through and being like, I think this would have appealed to 12-year-ago Kyle sensibilities and running those filters. But just adding like 5 new tracks and deleting 2 of what I had before felt like a modern, like doing it now and not like mastering something from the past.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that was kind of
lessen the spirit of the project.
Yeah. Also, again, I just didn't want to spend more than half an hour on any of these. Well, it's one of those.
Also fair.
Yeah. Okay, we're at 25 minutes. We have a bit of time left. Yeah, one of the things I was thinking was at the time we did this, YouTube wasn't really a thing. And I wasn't in art school anymore, and there just wasn't really a venue for something like this. Like, we couldn't really show it to people because who would spend money to buy a ticket to go to a hall to experience that didn't even have videos. We couldn't perform it.
You're right. We were definitely just doing this for the fun of it and for an interesting challenge.
Yeah, it was like it was a creative art project, but we had no idea for a destination, and then it kind of disappeared into the archives, and we've got a guest. Yeah. Anyway, so that was most of Manfred Says Go, except for any of Brad's contributions to the project, which now I guess that I've got your permission, I can
you can just muddle with them as you
find and
will.
post it. Awesome.